The rain hammered the roof like it was trying to drown out the secrets we'd all been keeping. But when Alex's eyes locked onto mine across the cluttered kitchen table, the storm inside me roared louder than any thunder outside. I was 19, fresh out of high school in this sleepy Ohio town where everyone knew your business before you did. And I'd spent years burying the truth about who I was, Evan. The quiet kid who fixed cars with his dad and laughed at his big brother's dumb jokes to fit in. But that night, with my brother passed out upstairs after too many beers, Alex leaned in and whispered, "Stay? Just stay?" And in that fractured moment, the world cracked open, spilling all the colors I'd hidden away. I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted to escape before the truth could catch it. Alex was 20, my brother Jake's best friend since they were kids, terrorizing the neighborhood with baseball bats and bad idea style. Broad-shouldered, with that effortless grin that made girls at school swoon and guys like me pretend we didn't notice how his laugh lit up a room. We'd always been on the edges of each other's orbits, him crashing at our house after late-night gaming sessions, me lingering in doorways, stealing glances when I thought no one was looking. But tonight, with Jake snoring off his hangover and the power flickering from the storm, Alex's invitation hung in the air like smoke, thick and impossible to ignore. "Why?" I managed, my voice barely cutting through the downpour outside. He didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine just a graze. Accidental maybe, but electric enough to make my skin hum. That touch lingered as we cleared the bottles, our shoulders bumping in the narrow space. Every accidental contact a spark against the dry tinder of everything unsaid. By the time we climbed the stairs to the guest-roomy old room, really, since I'd crashed on the couch for months, now the air felt charged, like the storm was inside us too. We didn't talk much as we settled in. The bed was a queen, pushed against the wall under posters of bands I'd outgrown. And Alex kicked off his shoes, sprawling out like he owned the place. "Storm's bad," he said, staring at the ceiling where shadows danced from the lightning. "Jake won't mind if I crash here." "You cool?" I nodded, throat tight, sliding under the covers on my side, the mattress dipping under his weight. Sleep should have come easy. We were exhausted from the bonfire earlier, Jake's birthday bash turning into a mud-soaked mess, but my mind raced, replaying that look, that touch. Hours blurred, or maybe minutes. Time lost shape in the dark. I woke to the creak of the bed, Alex shifting closer, his breath warm against my neck. "Evan," he murmured, voice rough from sleep. "You awake?" My pulse thundered. I turned, our faces inches apart, his blue eyes catching the faint glow from the streetlight sneaking through the blinds. There it was again, that look. Not the casual buddy glance I'd known for years, but something deeper. Stripped bare. Hungry. Afraid. Real. "Yeah," I whispered, the word catching like it knew what came next. His hand found my arm under the blanket, tentative at first, then firmer, pulling me toward him. Our lips met in the chaos of it all, soft, urgent, tasting of rain and regret and the beer we'd shared earlier. It wasn't fireworks. It was a dam breaking. Years of sidelong stares and swallowed confessions flooding out in one desperate kiss. His fingers tangled in my hair, my hands fisting his shirt. And for the first time, I didn't pull away. I leaned in, letting the truth breathe. But truths like ours don't stay quiet in a town like Milford. By morning, the rain had eased to a drizzle, and Jake pounded on the door, hollering about pancakes and hangovers. We sprang apart, hearts racing, exchanging a look that promised more secrets. Alex slipped out first, clapping Jake on the back like nothing had happened. But as I trailed behind, his gaze flicked back intense. Unspoken, this isn't over. The days that followed were a tightrope walk over an abyss. School was out. Summer stretching lazy and hot across the Midwest. But every afternoon blurred into Jake's endless hangouts. Alex was there, always tossing a football in the backyard, sprawled on our sagging porch swing with a soda, his laugh booming as Jake recounted some stupid story from their glory days. I'd join them, playing the part of the little brother. But now every brush of his knee against mine under the picnic table sent heat coiling low in my gut. We'd steal moments, a shared cigarette behind the garage, his thumb tracing my wrist in the shadows. A late-night text that read simply, "Missed that look you gave me." One evening, as fireflies blinked in the humid air, Jake fired up the grill, burgers sizzling while Alex and I chopped veggies inside. The screen door banged shut, leaving us alone, and he pinned me against the counter with his hips, mouth crashing into mine like he'd been starving. "God, Evan," he gasped against my lips, hands roaming under my shirt, mapping the planes of my chest. "Can't stop thinking about you." I melted into him, the world narrowing to the scrape of his stubble, the way he whispered my name like a prayer. But Jake's voice boomed from outside, "Yo, where's the ketchup?" And we broke apart, flushed and laughing breathlessly. The interruption a cruel reminder of the walls closing in. It built like that. Stolen fragments pieced into something fragile and fierce. We'd sneak out after Jake crashed, driving Alex's beat-up truck to the quarry on the edge of town, where the water gleamed black under the moon. There, clothes discarded on the rocky shore. We dive in, bodies tangling in the cool depths, emerging to kiss slow and deep, water streaming down our skin. "You're beautiful," he'd say, tracing the freckles across my shoulders. And I'd believe him, even as doubt gnawed at the edges. What were we? Friends. More. And Jake loyal. Oblivious Jake how long before he saw the shift in us. The first crack came 2 weeks in, at the county fair. Lights strung across the midway, cotton candy air thick with fried dough and laughter. Jake dragged us through the crowds, arms slung over Alex's shoulders, but his eyes kept finding mine over the throng. We slipped away during the demolition derby, finding a quiet spot behind the Ferris wheel. His kiss was fire, hands urgent, but as he pulled back, forehead to mine, he said, "I want this. Evan. All of it." But Jake. The words hung, heavy as the bass thumping from the speakers. "I know," I replied, heart twisting. Jake was familia protector, the one who'd punched a bully for calling me a fag in middle school without knowing why it stung so deep. Telling him meant risking everything, the easy camaraderie, the home we'd built after Mom left and Dad buried himself in the garage. But hiding, that was carving pieces out of myself. Day by day, we didn't have to wait long for the storm to break. It was a Friday, heat wave clinging like a fever, and Jake suggested a movie night some action flick at the drive-in. Beers in the cooler. Halfway through, with explosions lighting the screen, Alex's hand found my thigh in the dark cab of the truck, squeezing just enough to make me bite my lip. Jake shifted in the back, oblivious. But when the credits rolled and we piled out, he caught the way Alex's arm lingered around my waist as we walked to the concession stand. Back at home, the air turned thick. Jake cornered us in the living room, eyes narrowed, voice low. "What's going on with you two? You've been weird as hell lately." Alex stiffened beside me on the couch, his knee pressing mine like an anchor. I opened my mouth, but nothing came, fear choking the words. "Nothing, man." Alex lied smoothly, but Jake wasn't buying it. He paced, running a hand through his hair, the same messy brown as mine. "Bullshit. I see how you look at him, Alex. Like he's..." "Fuck." The room spun. Jake's face crumpled, betrayal flashing raw. "Evan. My little brother. Tell me I'm wrong." The silence stretched eternal. Then, in a voice steadier than I felt, I said, "You're not." Alex's hand slipped into mine, defiant, and the world tilted. Jake exploded not with fists, but words, sharp as shattered glass. "How long?" "Under my roof. You think I wouldn't notice?" He stormed out, slamming the door, tires screeching into the night. Alone, Alex pulled me close, his embrace the only solid thing. "We'll fix this," he promised. But tears burned my eyes. We'd ignited something beautiful, but at what cost? The house felt hollow without Jake's roar, his absence a wound that festered through the weekend. Texts went unread, calls straight to voicemail. Alex stayed, holding me through the nights when doubt clawed deepest, his whispers weaving promises into the dark. "I love you, Evan. We'll make it right." Monday brought the reckoning. Jake showed up at dawn, eyes bloodshot, smelling of regret and cheap whiskey. He didn't yell. Instead, he sat at the kitchen table, staring at his hands. "I need to understand," he said finally, voice cracking. Alex and I exchanged a glance, then sat across from him, hands linked under the table. Words tumbled out halting at first, then steady, the hidden aches, the fear of losing him, the love that had bloomed despite it all. Jake listened, jaw tight, tears tracking silent paths. "I punched that kid for you because you're my brother," he said at last. "Doesn't matter who you love. But Alex, he's like family too. This hurts because it blindsided me." The air shifted then, tentative bridge forming over the chasm. Hugs followed awkward. Fierce in those scars lingered. Forgiveness took root. Summer waned, leaves turning gold along the Ohio rivers. And what started in a storm bloomed into something enduring. Alex and I navigated it all, coming out to friends who surprised us with open arms. The small-minded whispers in town that we learned to shrug off. Jake's slow integration barbecues where he'd rib us mercilessly, but with a warmth that healed. We moved to Columbus that fall, Alex and I sharing a cramped apartment near campus. Jake visiting with care packages and bad advice. Looking back, that night the rain, the look, the leap changed everything because it forced us to choose truth over silence. Love isn't the absence of storms. It's dancing in them, hand in hand, knowing the light always follows. The autumn chill seeped through the cracks in our new apartment windows. But Alex's arms around me chased it away as we unpacked boxes in the tiny living room. Columbus buzzed outside, college kids streaming to classes. The scent of street vendors' pretzels mixing with exhaust butt inside. It was just us, building a life from the ashes of that Ohio summer. I'd enrolled in community college for auto tech, dreaming of a shop of my own. Alex chased graphic design, his sketches already cluttering every surface. Jake had driven us up, truck loaded with my life's debris. And as he hugged me goodbye in the parking lot, he'd clapped Alex on the back with a gruff, "Take care of him, or I'll kick your ass." It was progress. Fragile but real. Nights were our sanctuary. We'd cook spaghetti from a box, sauce splattering like abstract art, then collapse on the futon, his head in my lap as I ran fingers through his blonde hair. "Remember the quarry?" He'd murmur, eyes distant with that soft smile. I'd nod, pulling him up for a kiss that tasted like garlic and forever. But shadows lingered, nights when old fears whispered, when I'd jolt awake from dreams of Jake's betrayal face. Or worse, Dad's silence if he ever knew. Dad, the ghost in the room we never named. After Mom bailed when I was 12, he'd retreated into engines and silence, leaving Jake to raise me. We hadn't told him yet. The drive from Milford felt like crossing state lines to escape judgment. But one crisp October afternoon, as leaves swirled and eddies down High Street, my phone buzzed with his number. Heart in throat. I answered, Evan, it's Dad. His voice was gruff, unchanged, like gravel under tires. Small talk stumbled school. Weather then. Jake called. Said you and Alex are shacked up. The line hummed with unspoken weight. I braced, words tangling. Yeah, we're together. I love him. Dad. Silence stretched. Then a sigh. Brought you into this world. Son. Don't care who you love. Long as they treat you right. Tears pricked. It wasn't a parade. But it was enough a bridge extended. He invited us home for Thanksgiving. Voice softening. Bring the boy. We'll grill. The holiday loomed like a test. We piled into Alex's truck. Jake riding shotgun. Playlist blasting indie rock to cut the tension. Milford welcomed us with bare trees and the faint hum of the paper mill. Dad's garage light glowing like a beacon. He shook Alex's hand firm. Eyes appraising but kind. And over turkey and Jake's lumpy mashed potatoes. Stories flowed old fishing trips. Mom's laugh echoing in memory. Bye pie. Dad pulled me aside on the porch. Cigarette smoke curling. Proud of you, Evan, for being brave. The words landed like rain on parched earth. Back in Columbus. Emboldened. We ventured out. Pride flags fluttered from dorm windows. But real life was messier. A co-worker at the auto shop, side-eyeing my rainbow keychain. A professor's awkward pause during roll call when I corrected pronouns in a group project. Alex faced it too, a client ghosting after glimpsing his portfolio's subtle queer icons. But we leaned in, attending a local support group where stories mirrored our first loves. Family fractures. The quiet victories. Winter hit hard. Snow blanketing the city in hush. One night, holed up with hot cocoa and a rom-com. Alex turned serious. Marry me, he asked. Ring from a pawn shop, glinting simple silver band etched with our initials. Laughter bubbled. Then tears. My yes a vow sealed in the glow of string lights. We didn't rush. Ohio's laws lagged. But the promise anchored us. Spring thawed the ice, bringing blooms and burdens. Jake announced his engagement to Sarah, a nurse from Cleveland, and our families merged in a backyard wedding under Milford's oaks. I stood as best man, toasting their love while stealing glances at Alex in the crowd, his eyes promising our turn. But joy cracked when Dad pulled Jake aside post-ceremony. Voice low, heard about the wedding plans. You sure about this? Path. Jake shut it down fierce, it's their life. Dad, but the seed of doubt sprouted. Old wounds reopening. The fallout simmered. Alex withdrew. Sketches turning dark. Nights spent staring at ceilings. What if it's too much? He'd whisper. Vulnerability cracking his armor. I'd hold him, tracing tattoos from his Navy days weight. No. He'd dodged enlistment for art school. But ink from rebellious summers marked his ribs, a compass rose pointing true north. Toward me. We're worth fighting for. I'd say. Proving it with touches that reignited the fire-slow dances in the kitchen to vinyl crackle. Road trips to Lake Erie where waves crashed like our heartbeats. Summer circled back. Hotter. Heavier. We road tripped to Chicago for a queer film fest. Neon lights and diverse crowds abalm. There, in a dive bar pulsing with drag queens and laughter. Alex proposed again in one knee amid cheers. Ring upgraded with savings from freelance gigs. I said yes louder. The city's pulse echoing our own. But home called with thorns. Dad's health dip prostate scare. Scans pending and guilt twisted as we drove south. In his hospital room. Monitors beeping. He gripped my hand. Regret snapping at Jake. He rasped. Love's love. Evan. Don't let fear steal yours. Alex stood sentinel. Fetching coffee. His presence a quiet strength. Dad recovered. Slower. but with calls turning weekly. Stories shared over speakerphone. Fall deepened. Leaves aflame. And we planned our commitment ceremony small. Backyard affair in Columbus. Jake officiating with vows he'd written half drunk. Half heartfelt. Friends gathered. Shop buddies toasting with craft beer. Alex's art circle snapping Polaroids. As we exchanged rings under fairy lights. Jake's voice boomed. You too. You're the brave ones. Change me too. Tears flowed free. The circle complete. Years layered on. But that first night the storm. The look remained our North Star. Love, we learned, isn't a straight path. It's a winding road through rain and revelation. Emerging stronger. Hand in hand. Seasons blurred into a rhythm of us, mornings tangled in sheets. Alex's coffee breath mingling with mine as we planned the day. Evenings sketching side by side. My grease-stained fingers smudging his paper until he laughed and kissed the stains away. Columbus grew on us like ivy, its hidden alleys where we'd first held hands publicly. The Ohio River walks where proposals were whispered yearly. Just to hear the yes anew. Jake's wedding had sealed family ties. Sarah's warmth drawing Dad into video calls where he'd grumble about kids these days, but beam at our updates. Yet, cracks in the foundation tested us. Alex's freelance dried up midwinter. Rejections piling like snowdrifts. His confidence fracturing. What if I'm not enough? He'd mutter. Hunched over a blank canvas. I'd counter with drives to the countryside. Windows down. Wind whipping confessions, my own fears of failing at the shop. The lingering echo of high school taunts. Vulnerability became our glue nights where we'd strip bare. Not just bodies but souls. Mapping scars with lips and words until dawn pinked the sky. Spring brought renewal. Alex landed a gig designing queer lit covers. Vibrant and bold. His name gaining traction in indie circles. I apprenticed under a master mechanic who flew a pride flag from his tow truck, mentoring me on engines and acceptance. Pride that year was electric parade floats, thumping bass. Rainbows draping the streets as we marched. Jake and Sarah cheering from the sidelines. Dad waving a makeshift sign, proud of my boys. But life's tempests brewed elsewhere. A call from Milford shattered a lazy Sunday. Dad's cancer had returned. Aggressive this time. Chemo looming. We dropped everything. Truck packed in hours. Racing south through bucketing rain that mirrored the dread coiling in my gut. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and despair. Dad frilier in the bed. But his grip was iron. Knew you'd come, he said, eyes flicking to Alex. Both of you. We stayed weeks. Tag-teaming shifts, me reading car magazines aloud. Alex sketching portraits that captured Dad's wry smile. Jake arrived too. The brothers united in vigil. Sarah organizing meals that filled the house with normalcy. One night, as monitors hummed, Dad pulled us close. Wasted time on pride and prejudice. He confessed. Voice a rasp. You too. You're my legacy. Love fierce. Evan. Like I should've. Tears carved paths. Forgiveness flowed. A river washing clean. He fought valiant. But summer solstice marked the end peaceful. At home. Surrounded by us. The funeral was small. Milford's church packed with neighbors who'd whispered once, but now stood silent in respect. Eulogies wove his story, the stoic mechanic who'd raised 2 sons alone. Learned late, but loved deep. Afterward, on the porch swing creaking under our weight, Jake handed me Dad's old toolkit. He wanted you to have it. Said you fixed more than cars. Grief hollowed us. But from its depths, resolve rose. Alex and I channeled it into a foundation small at first. Scholarships for queer youth in rural Ohio. Stories like ours amplified. Jake joined. His engineering firm sponsoring events. Sarah's empathy the heart. We held the first gala in fall. Leaves crunching underfoot as donors mingled. A kid from Milford High sharing his closet struggles on stage. Voice steady because of us. Winter wrapped gentle. Snow muffling the world's edge. On our anniversary, the true one. That stormy night we escaped to a cabin in Hocking Hills. Fireplace crackling as we slow danced to no music. Bodies remembering. You changed everything. Alex whispered. Ring glinting as he traced my jaw. For the better. Spring bloomed defiant. Cherry blossoms dusting the Scioto River. We adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy mutt named Stormy. Fittingly chaotic, and walks became therapy. Paws patting beside our steps. Jake announced Sarah's pregnancy. Ultrasound photos texted at dawn. And we planned Uncle Judy's with glee. The family expanding like roots underground. Yet, romance reignited in quiet ways. Surprise picnics in Goodale Park. Alex's fingers laced with mine as we fed ducks. Midnight drives blasting our playlist. Windows fogged with laughter and steam. Intimacy deepened, not just passion's fire, but the steady burn of knowing. His quirked brow when I rambled about carburetors. My hand in his hair, soothing design deadlines. Summer sweltered, but we thrive at me shop opening downtown. Evan's Fix. Pride sticker on the door. Alex's exhibit in a local gallery. Pieces telling our arc from shadows to light. Jake's baby arrived. A girl named Riley. Tiny fists waving as we cooed in the nursery. Aunt Evan and Uncle Alex. Jake joked, but the title stuck, binding us tighter. Fall harvested gratitude. Harvest moons over cornfields. Family dinners where stories looped back to that night. One look, I'd say, toasting, and the world realigned. We'd evolved from boys stealing kisses to men building legacies. Love the thread weaving it all. Through it, the human spark endured, kindness in strangers' nods, resilience in shared burdens, the quiet power of being seen. That change, it rippled outward, proving love's alchemy, turning fear to fortitude, isolation to interconnection. As leaves turned to mulch underfoot, the rhythm of our lives steadied into something profound, a tapestry woven from threads of loss and light. Riley's first Halloween had us carving pumpkins on Jake's lawn, her chubby hands smearing goo while Sarah snapped photos. Alex and I competing for the gnarliest jack-o'-lantern. Laughter echoed, healing the hollow dad left. But nights alone, I traced the empty space beside me in bed. Alex's snores a anchor pulling me back. Work surged, my shop buzzed with loyal clients. Word of mouth spreading like wildfire after I fixed a single mom's minivan gratis. Alex's art took flight, a commission for a queer nonprofit mural downtown. Vibrant figures emerging from storm clouds. Hands linked against the gray. Critics noticed. A local paper profile dubbing him the voice of hidden hearts. Pride swelled. Not just for him, but us, the partnership that fueled it. Yet, undercurrents stirred. A letter arrived from Milford High, inviting me to speak at their GSA Gay Straight Alliance Assembly. Nerves knotted my gut. Returning meant facing ghosts. Alex squeezed my hand over breakfast. You're the proof it gets better. I went, voice shaking at first. Sharing fragments, the buried feelings. The night that cracked me open. The family that mended. Kids leaned in. Eyes wide, mirrors of my younger self, and questions poured. What if they hate you? Does it hurt less over time? Honesty bridged the gap. By end, hugs lingered. A boy whispering, thanks for being real. The ripple hit home. Jake called post-talk. Voice thick. Heard from the principal. You changed lives. Bro. It fueled me. Volunteering hours at the shop for apprentices, queer teens learning wrenches and worth. Alex joined. Teaching sketch sessions. His patients drawing out their stories in charcoal strokes. Winter gripped fierce. Blizzards blanketing Columbus in white silence. We hunkered. Stormy curled at our feet. Board games devolving into pillow fights. One storm-trapped night. Power out. Candles flickering. Alex pulled a velvet box from his coat. Not just rings, he said, revealing matching pendants compass roses. Engraved, True North. Necklaces clasped. We made love slow. Shadows dancing on walls like memories made flesh. Spring unfurled tentative. Then bold tulips pushing through frost. Mirroring our thaw. Sarah's book club evolved into a support circle for new moms. Jake beaming as she hosted. Riley toddling amid pillows. We babysat often. Her giggles therapy. Tiny hands patting our cheeks, as if sensing the love that held us. But tests came unbidden. Alex's ex-college fling. Straight passing by guy reached out via email. Congrats on the buzz. Laced with old photos. Subtle digs. Doubt flickered. I confronted gentle. Am I enough? His response, a bonfire in our backyard. Printing the email to ash. You're everything. Past smoke. You're my fire. Summer scorched. Festivals pulsing with life. We hit a music fest on the river. Bodies swaying to indie anthems. Sweat-slick skin pressed close. Jake joined. Riley in a carrier. Dancing awkward but joyful. That night, under stars, he pulled us aside. Therapy's helping. He admitted post-dad. Unraveling his own knots. You guys. Inspired that. Vulnerability circled back. Strengthening the bond. Fall deepened hues. Harvest fairs calling us homeward. Milford's changed rainbow crosswalks striped Main Street. Thanks to a council kid who'd heard my talk. We strolled. Hands swinging. Dad's grave tended with fresh flowers. Whispers of gratitude carried on wind. Grief's waves ebbed. Replaced by purpose. Our foundation grew. Chapters in neighboring states. Stories collected in an anthology. Alex illustrate draw testimonies of coming out. Loving loud. Launch party overflowed. Jake toasting. To storms that bring the rainbows. Through it. Romance simmered. Stolen kisses in shop bays. Alex's sketches of me mid-laugh framed on walls. Intimacy evolved conversations as deep as touches. Dreams shared like secrets. Humanity's core shone. Empathy's quiet power. Resilience forged in fire. Love's capacity to heal divides. That pivotal look. It birthed a legacy not just ours, but a beacon for those navigating their own nights. The wheel turned again. Autumn's gold giving way to winter's silver hush. Our lives a mosaic of milestones etched in frost-kissed glass. Riley turned 3. Her birthday a whirlwind of cake smears and piñata chaos at Jake's, where Alex and I chased her giggles through piles of balloons. Hearts full to bursting. Sarah captured it all in a scrapbook. Pages thick with our woven stories from Ohio rains to Columbus lights. Professionally, tides rose. My shop expanded. A second bay for custom restorations. Clients seeking not just fixes, but the man behind the wrench. Stories swapped over oil changes. A trans kid apprenticing under my wing. Alex's mural spawned a series. City commissions rolling in. His studio a sunlit haven where I'd sneak lunches. Watching him lose himself in color. But beneath the bloom, shadows stirred. News from Milford, the old quarry site, our secret haven faced development. Condos erasing the wild edge. It stung. That erasure of beginnings. But sparked action. We rallied locals. Petitions circling like fireflies. Jake's firm donating pro bono plans for a preserve. Victory came narrow. Groundbreaking for a community park under harvest moon. Plaque reading, sanctuary for hearts and hands. We dedicated it with a kiss. Crowd cheering. Roots reclaimed. Spring whispered promises. Dogwoods blushing pink along the river paths where Stormy tugged leashes. Her gray muzzle softening our steps. We fostered pups to short-term homes, turning to teary goodbyes. Each teaching surrender and joy. One lingered. a shy shepherd mix named Echo. Completing our pack. Family evolved. Jake and Sarah's second on the way. A boy this time. Nursery painted with Alex's murals adventures in blues and greens. Dad's toolkit hung in my shop. A talisman. And holidays brought toasts to absent seats. Memories the warmest fire. Yet, intimacy's dance grew nuanced. A weekend getaway to the hills reignited sparks hiking trails hand in hand. Cabin nights where words wove with whispers. Bodies rediscovering rhythms. Still you. Alex breathed post-climax. Fingers tracing my spine. Still us. Summer's heat wave tested resolve. A heatstroke scare at the shop landed me in ER. Alex pale-faced in the waiting room. Jake pacing beside. Recovery was slow. His bedside vigils of vow renewed soup stirred. Sketches of us healing. It shifted perspective, fragility underscoring gratitude. Every breath a gift. Fall harvested abundance. Foundation's annual gala. Black tie under chandeliers. Stories shared on stage, a teen from the sticks echoing my youth. Voice steady. Evan and Alex showed me the way out. Tears flowed. Donations soared. Chapters sprouting like acorns. Through trials. Romance anchored. Surprise dates to dive bars. Slow dances in rain-slick streets. Letters tucked in lunch bags, poems in Alex's looping script. Vows in my block print. Love matured. Not fading, but deepening. Roots delving profound. Winter blanketed gentle. Holidays aglow. Riley's school play cast us as proud uncles. Cheering her tree roll amid tinsel. Jake's son arrived. Little Owen. Eyes like Dad's. Family swelling with cries and cuddles. Grief's embers glowed soft now. Fueling forward motion. We mentored a young couple. Fresh from closets. Walks turning to wisdom shared. That original night, the gaze that upended echoed in every step. A reminder, change begins in vulnerability. Ripples to revolution. Human values crystallized, compassion's bridge over chasms. Courage's quiet roar. Love's eternal forge shaping not just selves, but worlds kinder. Braver. Cycles spun onward. Winter's white yielding to spring's verdant surge. Our existence a symphony of settled chaos and soaring dreams. Owen's baptism brought Milford kin together. Church bells pealing as we stood godparents. Tiny fingers clutching ours in promise. Jake's grin split wide. Sarah's eyes misty. The circle unbreakable. Shop thrived. Eco upgrades drawing green crowds, electric conversions. Pride and sustainability mirroring personal growth. Alex's gallery show toured regionally. Storms to stars. Pieces pulsing with our arc, shadowed figures emerging luminous. Critiques hailing emotional depth. Shadows intruded subtle, a homophobic slur scrawled on shop window post pride. Glass shattering more than pain. Police shrugged. But community rallied, rainbow murals blooming overnight. Alex's brush leading the charge. It hardened resolve. Foundation workshops on resilience, packing rooms. Summer solstice marked 10 years since that night. A vow renewal under quarry stars, now park lanterns. Jake officiated again. Words wiser. Love's not static. It's the storm you weather together. Rings exchanged. Kisses sealed amid cheers. Cake smashed with Riley and Owen's gleeful help.